We ready? All right. So, June 10th, and we're in Beach Haven, and it's 6 o'clock, and I'm calling the meeting to order, and the flag salute will be led by Mr. McCaffrey.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building, on the Borough website, and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mrs. Ball-Miller?
Here.
Ms. Lambert?
Here.
Mr. McCaffrey?
here.
Ms. Snyder?
Here.
Mayor Davis?
Here.
Cash receipts in the current fund account for the period of May 1st to May 31st, 2024 were $4,059,333.98. Cash disbursements in the current fund account for the month of May totaled $5,955,392.79. Cash receipts in the water utility account for the period of May 1st to May 31st were $221,771.68, while cash disbursements in the water utility account for the month of May totaled $117,691.93. Cash receipts in the sewer utility account for the period of May 1st to May 31st were $191,762.69, while cash disbursements in the sewer utility account for the month of May totaled $38,471.56, submitted by our treasurer, Sherry Bowler. Ordinance 2024-11C, an ordinance creating Chapter 190, tree removal and replacement in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to establish requirements for tree removal and replacement in the Borough of Beach Haven to reduce soil erosion and pollutant runoff, promote infiltration of rainwater into the soil, and protect the environment, public health, safety, and welfare. Final reading.
This is the final reading, so unless any council wants to speak specifically to this, I'll open the floor for public comment. Anybody would like to comment, please come forward. Nobody? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, therefore, I just want to say I think this is a great ordinance. We've learned over and over again, the more green we have, more plants and trees, reduces the carbon footprint and makes it a much cooler and more pleasant place. I think it's great. So do I have a motion to approve 11C?
Motion to approve 2024-11C.
I'll second.
Mrs. Ball-Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes,
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2024-12C, an ordinance amending Chapter 177, Stormwater Management in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to reflect amendments to the Stormwater Management Rules, NJAC 7:8, and to prevent stored salt and other solid de-icing materials from being exposed to stormwater. Second, final adoption.
Yeah, so
Second
final
reading.
adoption unless anybody on the council needs. I'm opening the floor to public comment. Anybody want to come forth? Anybody on Zoom? This only makes common sense, so do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
For a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Ball-Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes,
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-14C, an ordinance amending Chapter 199, Vehicles and Traffic of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to establish a four-way stop at the corner of Pennsylvania and Ingleside Avenue. Final reading.
Is there anybody that wants to come forward and speak to this ordinance?
I'd just like to say something.
Yes.
You know, this is a situation where, I don't know if you're here tonight, a woman came to us, it isn't right on that corner and asked, give us some information, some things that I certainly wasn't aware of, and asked for this to happen, and the chief got right on it, and tonight we're adopting it, so I think it's a really good idea. That it was quick.
It's great. It shows
Yeah.
that public, when the public speaks, we often can act and get things done. Anybody else want to talk to this? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, so therefore, do I have a motion to approve 14C?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-15C, an ordinance amending Chapter 139, parking lots municipal in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, to amend and clearly define the boundaries of Taylor Avenue parking lot. Final reading.
Again, this is final reading, so I will open the floor to public comment relating to this ordinance. Does anybody like to speak to this ordinance? Nobody? Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? No? I would just like to say one thing. I did have somebody that was upset with the ordinance. I looked into it. This is a person, and he had a good point that, I'm surprised he's not here tonight, but a good point that he lives in, there's, calling the Bay Club down there, and he says that, he said that, a lot of people in Bay Club park their cars right next to that little area in the parking lot, and with this ordinance, he won't be able to do it. Our police force really thought this was the best way to go, but there is a small parking lot right next to that development, the Bay Club, which is on Pennsylvania Avenue, and there is an area where people can park through the night on that lot.
Delaware and Taylor.
Delaware and Taylor.
Right.
Yeah, so that would allow for people that live in the Bay Club that have lots of friends and kids staying with cars to have a place to park overnight. So I think that helps that person a little bit. Okay, if nobody wants to speak, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-16C, an ordinance amending Chapter 173, solid waste in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to provide trash pickup for businesses operating year-round in some instances. Final reading.
Again, it's final reading. Is there anybody that would like to speak to this? Anybody on Zoom? So therefore, do I have a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert.
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-17C, an ordinance repealing ordinance 2024-5C and amending and supplementing Chapter 141, Peace and Good Order in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to amend and clarify sections of the Borough Code related to vessels within the borough's riparian grant. It also is to recognize and preserve shellfish history, protect our current resources, and most importantly, to educate and promote this tradition to future generations. Final reading.
Again, final reading. Is there anybody that would like to speak to this particular ordinance? Everybody on Zoom? Nobody? All right, then do I have a motion?
Come on up.
Oh, sorry.
Carol Weissman, 310 Southwest Avenue. I have a couple of questions regarding the ordinance. Reading the ordinance, reading the ordinance, it appears that, I just want to clarify. So there's no registration of the occupants or permits will be issued for this, correct?
Correct.
There's no restriction on the length of the boat.
Not necessarily. It's somewhat open, but it has to be a boat that would fit into that area. I mean, you can't put a really big boat in there.
Well, I mean, if a boat can dock, then it can stay there. So for example, in the past, there's been a 27-foot twin engine center console fishing boat that can fit in one of the slips because they've been there. Is that, and that vessel obviously is not to be utilized for a bayman
Says
or,
it's limited to the size and type of boats typically used for shell fishing in Barnegat Bay, such as a Garvey or a sneak box.
correct.
I'm sorry, in Little Egg Harbor Bay. This is my
Okay.
old copy.
All right. And there's no proof of the shellfish permit required to be
Correct.
able to, as long as you have a vessel that looks like one of the two that are
Correct.
mentioned. Okay. My question is, if there is anything that is out of character, so for example, a 27-foot twin engine boat, how will this be enforced?
Code
This
enforcement,
ordinance, code
Code enforcement.
enforcement by whom?
code enforcement.
Okay, code enforcement would be, so you would call,
Pat
There's
O'Donnell,
a individual who's the code enforcement officer.
Okay. all right. But we would not really know if anyone has a shellfish permit or not,
right,
since no one is overseeing this. Okay, all right. Okay, it also seems to me that elimination of paragraph A of the code now permits these boats to be tied to the bulkhead, because there's nothing in there that says that they can. And that also there could be installation of a permanent or semi-permanent structure in the riparian area, such as another floating dock could go in, because there is nothing that restricts it.
they would
to go.
need the borough permission to do something like that,
Borough permission.
to install something other than a vessel.
And what code is that? Where would you read that?
I'm just answering your
Yeah,
question.
no, I understand. Right. I mean, it seems to me this whole thing started, right, with it's not about who has what boat in that area. It is about the fact that it's a municipal area and that it should be enjoyed by all fairly, without restriction, and not by certain individuals. As we speak, even though this ordinance has not yet been implemented, we already have people doing placeholders there, so that makes certain that a spot is not taken by someone else who might want to come in. Perhaps one of the 4 other baymen that you say have fished the beds from our harbor, that they could come in and use the space. If this is truly supposed to be something that you're doing for the education and the proliferation, if you will, of the baymen, I fail to understand how this particular ordinance is doing that. I don't understand how it is going to be continuing the education. And I'm also not certain what current resources are being protected, other than people who have had boats there for years that can bring them back without a permit and without any other information. It seems to me like it's a municipal area. I don't understand why the council would not be getting the names, understanding who has the vessels there, making certain that they're registered, because that if they indeed are doing the kind of shellfish harvesting that you're talking about, they would have all those things, because that's what they need to do the business. And that is what the one individual that is doing this full-time has and has invested. The others are primarily pleasure boaters. And you can be a pleasure boater and have a Garvey and just want to go out with your family clamming, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we want it to be restricted, then we have to make certain that we have rules that restrict it. Otherwise, everyone in town that has a Garvey should be able to go there. And right now they can't. And I am sure there are plenty of people who have small boats and enjoy vacationing with their families and going clamming that would like for the week that they're here to be able to pull a boat in there. But that's not the way that it's going to happen. Okay, anyway, that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yes.
John Halprin, 319 Fairview Avenue, Beach Haven. I'm going to make the same comments I made earlier before this new ordinance was reintroduced. And I made those comments as president of Taxpayers Association. And as a taxpayer, I have those same concern. And that is, we have commercial recreational shellfish fishermen, and we don't know if they have insurance. Without insurance, the borough is exposed because they're being tied up to public property. If they had adequate insurance, then the taxpayers could be assured that they're not at risk. And personally, I'm just opposed to any taxpayer being exposed or at risk when private commercial entities are using public borough property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
And then Zoom. Anybody else in the audience? Nobody? Okay, do I have a motion to approve this particular ordinance, which is 17C?
Motion to approve 17C.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Abstain.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-18C, an ordinance amending Chapter 45 entitled Alcoholic Beverages to establish a theater license pursuant to NJSA 30:1-19.7. It authorizes the municipality to issue a plenary retail consumption license to a nonprofit corporation which regularly conducts musical or theatrical performances or concerts for which admission is charged. Final reading.
Again, final reading. Would anybody like to come forward and speak to this ordinance? Anybody on Zoom?
No.
I'd just like to say that, again, I think this is a great idea for Surflight Theater and for the town. Anything that can protect small theaters in the town is important, and I think it's, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-19C, an ordinance amending Chapter 212 zoning of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey to clarify the regulations regarding the American flag. First reading.
We discussed this last time. Is there anybody in council that would like to speak to this? It's not a. No.
I will,
No.
I just,
Yeah.
you know, the devil's in the details.
Right.
We came up with the ordinance prohibiting feather flags because a few take advantage and many don't, but it was just becoming a nuisance, and we just needed to clear up the language so there's no. There's never are.
You need a mic, Kitty.
We just wanted to clear it up because just the language, we needed to be clear that we never wanted to limit the number of American flags. That was never our intention.
Okay, anybody else in council?
No.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve 19C?
Motion to approve 19C.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-20C, an ordinance amending Chapter 111, Hotel and Motel Bed and Breakfast Room Occupancy Tax to establish a transient accommodation occupancies targeting but not limited to such accommodations conveyed by transient space marketplaces. The purpose of the ordinance is to supplement Chapter 111 pursuant to Public Law 2018, Chapter 49, which authorizes municipalities to impose a transient accommodation occupancy tax targeting but not limited to, and such accommodations conveyed by transient space marketplaces. First reading.
Again, we did discuss this at length at the last meeting, and but if anybody on council would like to speak to this,
No, I think this is a great idea. I mean, I had no idea that these places online were not paying any kind of tax, so.
anybody else? It is a nice source of revenue coming into the town. And help keep the taxes down. Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Oh,
It's not public.
It's-
Oh, no, we're not taking, it.
you
sorry.
can't,
It's an intro.
next time you can speak to this. This is the first reading, and this doesn't mean it's gonna pass this reading. This means it gives people time to think about it, and at the next meeting, they can speak to it one way or the other.
Is there details someplace for us to read about it? What does it mean?
Once it's introduced,
Passed.
once it's introduced, it gets published in the newspaper in full. I get posted up on the website in full. And then you can come in and get a copy for free. And then at the next meeting, we hold a public hearing before they consider moving forward.
Thank you.
I had a motion, Mike.
I'll
You
make
were
the
my
motion.
motion. I need a second.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes,
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder, Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-21. It will not have a C on it, is 21. It does not actually amend the code. This ordinance authorizes the execution and granting of a deed of dedication and perpetual public access easement to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. The purpose is to preserve public access in perpetuity pursuant to the public trust doctrine. Now, that's a mouthful. To comply with the requirement of an approved public access plan. First reading.
Okay. Anybody on council?
You'd mind explaining that a little bit?
yeah.
Sure. So it's taking all of our existing public access points to the water that are required in our public access plan that are existing currently, and giving an easement to the state of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to make sure that it is provided for public access in perpetuity. Does that cover it?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes,
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 124, returning piling bonds. 125, returning street opening bonds. 130, authorizing application to the local finance board for a full-service maintenance and asset management program for water storage vessels. 133, returning dumpster bonds. 145, returning remaining off-duty police detail escrow. And finally, 147 is authorizing the refund of redemption monies and a premium to an outside lien holder.
Does anybody want to take any of these off for further discussion?
Mm,
All right, if that's not the case, is there a motion to approve all these resolutions?
motion to approve the resolutions within the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes,
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, we will move on to approval of the 2024-2025 liquor licenses. And if you're not aware, each liquor license renewal will be opened to the public for public comment. So we will read the resolution by title, open the floor for public comment, and then we will close the floor and consider approval. So the first one is Resolution 135, 2024, granting a liquor license to Bird and Betty's LLC with special conditions. Nothing has changed in this resolution since last year, except for the striking of anything referencing teen night based on the ordinance that council adopted. So you will open the floor for public comment, Nance.
Would anybody like to speak to this? Anybody on Zoom? No. All right, so therefore, is there a motion to grant this liquor license?
Motion to grant.
So a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
136, granting a liquor license to JC Beach Haven Tavern, trading as Buckaloo's Restaurant and Tavern, Buckaloo's and Station 117 with special conditions. Nothing has changed in this resolution since the last approval.
Would anybody in the public like to speak to this? Anybody on Zoom? All right, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Abstain.
137, granting a liquor license to the Beach Haven Marlin and Tuna Club with special conditions. No changes.
Again, would anybody like to speak to this resolution?
I just have a question.
Well,
What is the special?
Don't come to the microphone and state your name and address. And you need to do this because it's recorded and you,
I just have a question.
okay.
Deborah Greenwald, 1 Center Street. Just have a question what the special conditions are and if they're the same for all of these.
They are not. Was there one specifically you were interested in hearing?
Well, when we get to it, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there does anybody else want to speak to this? All right, okay.
Hi there, Don Morrissey, 1 Center Street. Just a follow-on question. And so in terms of these licenses, is there a consistency in terms of how they are treated across each establishment? So each are considered individually.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the fact that we're approving one and we'll get to something later, it has no weight or bearing on the
Correct.
individual.
Yeah, I missed your name though.
Don Morrissey,
Thank you.
1 Center Street. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, is there a motion to approve this liquor license?
Make a motion?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, 138 is granting a liquor license to Murphy's Market with special conditions. Nothing's changed this year.
Again, would anybody like to speak to this particular establishment? Okay, is there a motion to approve the liquor license for Murphy's?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second,
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
yes.
139, granting a liquor license to Don Rommel's Liquor Store with special conditions. No changes.
Again, would anybody like to speak to this? Okay, is there a motion to approve the Don Rommel liquor license?
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Resolution 140, 2024, resolution granting a liquor license to Waterfront Restaurants LLC, trading as Black Whale Fish House with special conditions. Again, the change in this one was the striking of the teen night language.
Anybody like to speak to this particular? Okay, motion to approve the Black Whale liquor license.
So moved.
Mo-
Thank
Second.
you. Colleen, I got you a second.
Yep.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert.
Yes,
Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes,
Resolution 141, a resolution granting a liquor license to the Ingleside Inc., trading as the Ingleside with special conditions.
Kim, would anybody like to speak to the Ingleside?
Teen night language was struck from this one as well.
What?
Teen night language
night.
was struck.
Nobody wants to speak, and there's, all right, is there a motion to approve the liquor license for the Ingleside?
motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Lambert.
Yes,
Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes,
Resolution 142, 2024, resolution granting a liquor license to Seashell Club, Inc., trading as Seashell Resort and Beach Club with special conditions. The teen night language has been struck from this particular license.
would anybody like to speak to this particular liquor license? Okay.
George Duguid, 101 Ingleside Avenue. Good evening. My name is George Duguid, and I am president of the Breakers Condo Association. Our building is located at 101 Ingleside Avenue. I represent the 16 families who call Beach Haven home for most of the calendar year. Tonight, I'm asking the mayor and the council to add a condition to every business in the borough who are renewing their liquor licenses for this year and every year going forward. We were asking that as a condition for the license, that any outdoor music, both live and recorded, and at times listed in the town code book, chapter 134, listed under noise, specifically 134-2B1, nighttime hours. We are asking that all outdoor music, both live and recorded, end at 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, as listed in that chapter. For us at the Breakers, this request is in response to the late night playing of music at the Seashell Resort and Beach Club. The Seashell is located directly across the street from our residence building, which is located inside the zero tolerance zone. Over the last few years, and more specifically the last 2 years, the noise coming from the Seashell late at night is excessive, unnecessary, and a quality of life issue that impacts all our residents in our building. We believe this is late night playing of outdoor music violates the town code of 134-3A2A. We also believe last year the Seashell violated conditions listed in their liquor license, Resolution 132 of 2023, specifically condition number 13, which was noise and noise levels, and condition 14, the dispersing of the public quietly in parking lots and immediate area. We understand that businesses are trying to find ways to attract more patrons. We believe some of these ideas are leading to a strain on the already undermanned and stretched police department. We strongly believe by adding this condition to each and every business that has a liquor license, the Borough of Beach Haven is taking a step in the right direction to regaining the quality of life that so many of us want back post-COVID. We are asking for your help. We need your help. Please add this additional condition to their license. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Hi again, Deborah Greenwald, 1 Center Street. So I echo George's request for a way to ensure that the noise ordinance is actually followed. We've been dealing with this for a couple of years and it's escalating. And I just want to point out make some points here. There is an unacceptable noise level. The noise emanating from the shell after 10 p.m. is unacceptable and disruptive to our community. The disturbance negatively affects our quality of life, making it difficult to relax or sleep in our own home. The change in the situation has dramatically changed in the past 2 years since the late night music has moved outside. Previously, such disturbances were not an issue, indicating that this is a recent development that requires immediate action. We believe this is an ordinance violation. The current noise levels are out of compliance with the Beach Haven noise ordinance, which is designed to protect residents from exactly this type of disturbance. We want a zero tolerance policy, and asking for a zero tolerance policy towards violations of the noise ordinance consistent and strict enforcement is critical to ensure that all residents can enjoy peace and quiet during the late hours. As residents, we are required to comply with the laws of Beach Haven, and we expect the mayor and the council to enforce these laws and ordinance equally and fairly. No establishment should be above the law. And since we've been dealing with this for the past 2 years, calling the police, I believe there were 44 complaints last year. Nothing has changed. And so we would like something put in place, an addendum to the liquor license that ensures that we will not have to spend one more night sleepless in Beach Haven. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. What? I keep forgetting.
Good evening. Again, my name is Don Morrissey, 1 Center Street. Again, I want to just thank you for the opportunity to speak at tonight's meeting. And I am here, and I'll echo much of what you've heard already. My concerns about the noise level at the Seashell, particularly those after 10 o'clock. This is a quality of life issue for me and the other residents in the neighborhood. There are noise ordinances in place in Beach Haven, and they've been on the books for many, many years. But they have not been enforced. And I think that's what I'd like to underscore here. They have not been enforced. The fact that there were 44 noise complaints last summer with little or no consequences on the Seashell demonstrates that there is an issue. They are repeat offenders, and they show little regard for their neighbors. Now, I've been coming to Beach Haven my entire life. The Seashell has been here most of the time, and I've enjoyed my experience at the Shell. But something has changed in the past couple of years. The noise is louder and goes beyond midnight many times. My wife and I cannot sleep. My wife's here with me this evening. We've called the police. We've invited the police into our home to listen to the noise from the Seashell that we're hearing. We've met the police on Center Street outside of the Seashell. I've spoken to the owner, and I've been shrugged off when I've spoken to him. So I'm here this evening with my wife, my neighbors, to express our view that this is not tolerable. And we urge the mayor and the council to add an addendum to the Seashell liquor license requiring outdoor music to cease at 10 p.m. on weekdays and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. This is the ordinance. It needs to be enforced. And that's what we're here to, that's what I'm here to ask of you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? No. Anybody else in the audience?
Diane Cillier, 1 Center Street. The Shell is certainly an asset to our community, but nevertheless, we have had to endure continuous blasting noise. I want to read only the last 2 sentences of the Shell's action plan to reduce outside music leakage. And this, I'm quoting, with a combination of these measures, they have previously measured, had identified 8 measures. The sound companies we hire to help us resolve this issue feel that there will be massive sound improvement and noise reductions. In essence, keeping any music within our boundaries and not bouncing around the neighborhood. This action plan has not been successful. I tried to think, well, when do I get relief? So I'm telling you, there are 3 ways I get relief. The only relief I have experienced has come when there is a change in wind direction, but that means someone else is probably experiencing louder noise. Number 2, when there is inclement weather, to cut down on the size of the crowd or to cancel the outside music. Number 3, when there is softer music without drums, things are a bit more tolerable, but only until the crowd starts singing. Hundreds of people singing at the top of their lungs after a night of drinking. I am in favor of the petition limiting outside hours. As victims of music leakage, number 1, we have had to hope our calls to township made their way to the Beach Haven police. They didn't always
30
make
seconds.
it. Number 2, we had to hope that the band did not take a break before the police arrived. Number 3, we had to have the police in our bedrooms in the middle of the night. I don't know if you could appreciate how disturbing. We shouldn't have to do this. So that they could hear how much worse the noise was than at ground level. And number 4, we had to make a second call when things did not improve, since the first call, as I understand, only resulted in a warning. The Shell has the option of moving music inside, but what is our option? Where do we go if the noise is unbearable? We so very much need the help of council. We hope our petition will allow us to once again live in peace and harmony with the Shell.
Thank you.
Nancy, we do have one on Zoom.
Okay, let's have the Zoom person.
Holly F.
I would just, Holly Lot, 109 Center Street. And I just want to reinforce everything that my neighbors have just said, as it seems like this has been going on in perpetuity as long as we've been here, which is about
Holly,
18
can you
years
just
or
repeat
so.
your name and address for the record? We couldn't hear you.
Sure, it's Holly Lot. I'm at 109 Center Street.
Okay, go ahead.
And I just basically wanted to go ahead and reinforce everything that has been spoken in direct person already. So I just wanted to make myself heard in support of everything that my neighbors have just said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience?
David Greenwald, 1 Center Street. I'm going to be very brief. Our children and our grandchildren can't sleep. And it's very hard to explain to them like what's going on. I have nothing against the Shell. I go there all the time. I like the food, I like the drinks, but you know, if I go there and I have a few drinks, I don't get in my car and drive away because that's against the law. I don't go and urinate in the parking lot because it's against the law. What I'm asking the council is just to help us have the laws be enforced. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Joel Sklar, 1 Center Street. I'm going to be very brief. I'd like to first off echo the sentiments of the 5 previous speakers about the noise coming from the seashell. And I'm very confident that the mayor and the council here will successfully address our concerns. But if you don't, I have a request to please remove all the street signs about the noise ordinance, because what's going on right now for a fairly prominent section of our community is making a mockery of those signs. Thank you.
We have one on Zoom. Nancy?
Okay. Go ahead.
George Zillier, Diane's husband, and I just want to repeat what she said. You know, you've been there almost 30 years and the Shell has been great, but the noise is just beyond control. And, you know, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, the Zoom, whoever's on Zoom. Could you ask him to speak a little louder?
Sure. Carrie Brandt,
Yes, can you hear me?
yes, just speak loudly, please.
It's Kerry Brandt, 19 Center Street. I want to support my neighbors, but I also want to support the Seashell. It's a nice place to go. The biggest issue that we have is noise after they let out on mostly down North Atlantic. And I presume it goes the other way too. I would request more police presence, not necessarily to give people tickets, but to try to keep the quiet, at 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes?
I'm Mary Lee Gaffney, 16 Second Street. And I want to obviously echo what everybody has said. And I took a picture of the residential quiet zone sign that is literally on the corner of 16th of Second Street and Atlantic. And it says, especially at the end, please respect the rights of others. And so I don't think anyone is asking that the Shell not be given their liquor license. I don't think anybody is asking for the Shell not to be allowed to have music. But I don't understand why, before COVID, the music went inside when the quiet time started. And I don't understand why that cannot happen again. And right now, as I know you're aware, Madam Mayor, the music echoes off of the houses across the street from us and right back into ours. So it's craziness. It's just crazy. And there's no reason why they can't go back inside the way it was prior to COVID.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes?
Good evening. I'm Tom Hughes, 425th Street, along with my wife Sherry, my children. We're the owners of the Seashell, and I just want to get up and address the elephant in the room. First of all, we hear you. I completely hear you. I hear you. I'm owning this. Okay. I'm sorry. I do want them to hear it because they are my neighbors. We've been good neighbors for 60 years. We want to continue to be good neighbors. We do recognize, and Borough Council understands this, that we had a problem last year. It hasn't been the last few years. It hasn't been since COVID, because that's incorrect. We moved music outside completely after COVID. We've been playing music outside since the 80s. My family has owned the Seashell since 1960. Last year is when our issues started. And I'm going to talk about what we've done to address it. We've always had a stage on the beach. We've always played music on the beach. We enclosed the stage last year. We got a permit to do so. But enclosing that and putting a roof over our stage created a big problem for us. It basically turned it into an amphitheater. No matter what we did, we could not control it. We didn't realize from the Seashell that we had an issue initially, because if you sat at one of our beach bars or up on the beach, it sounds great. When I would go home at night and walk out onto Atlantic Avenue, all of a sudden be like, oh my God, it's bouncing all over the neighborhood. We didn't know what the heck to do with it. We got through the summer. And by the way, we received 4 noise violations on Labor Day last year. First time ever that we received a noise violation at night at the Seashell, regardless of what anybody else says. We received one 7 years ago at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Labor Day Sunday, but never before at night. So let me address what we've done to deal with this. Even though our sound system, as I said before, sounds perfect to us at the Seashell, we do recognize that music was bouncing all over the place. So we hired a sound consultant to come up and take a look at what was going on. That consultant came up and he was very quickly able to diagnose the problem with the Seashell. He also created a design for a brand new in-house sound system that would eliminate the issues that we were having. Before a band would come, they'd load onto the stage, they'd turn their speakers on, they'd do whatever they want to do, turn it up, turn it down. If it's too loud, we could ask them to turn it down, but they had complete control over the system. Taking the recommendation of the sound engineer that we had a local company, Mark Keeler. A lot of people know Mark. He's a local sound engineer. He came up and he designed an in-house sound system for us that does several things. It addresses music to our customers and our customers only. It completely eliminates the bands from bringing their sound system in now. They have to plug into ours. He has limiters, for lack of a better term, on it. It cannot exceed 65 decibels. 60 decibels is normal conversation, excuse me. So they can't go higher. And if one of my children determined that it is still too loud, we get our phone out and we can eliminate that and lower it right away. But the bands have no control over it. Jamie's going to talk to you a little bit about what's happened so far this summer and the additional changes that we've made, not only in our times of operation, but in the types of music that we operate outside. Jamie's going to talk about that. This is new this year. It's in place. It's working so far, and Jamie's going to talk to you about that. All I'm saying is I apologize for last summer, but you got to give us a little bit of a chance. It is not this summer. There's no,
No, we're not going to shout from the audience.
to my knowledge, and I spoke to the chief of police, there's been no noise complaints so far this summer. That's what I was told by the chief of police. He's in the chief of police is.
Commenting, everybody gets their speech.
Can we go up more than one?
Yes.
The chief of police told me this last week. We've been open 6 nights, Memorial Day weekend, basically. And he claimed, according to that he has not had any noise violations whatsoever. So we're addressing the problem. We'll continue to address it. We want to be a good neighbor. We always have been, whatever it takes to do so. But if you give us a little bit of chance to see that these issues are being resolved, then we can move forward. If we can't do it on our own, then we're going to have to come up with a better idea. But I think we've had a great action plan. That action plan is working, and just give us a chance. And if it's okay, I'd like my daughter Jamie to come up and talk a little bit about the bands that are playing, the times, and how we have scaled back to make it even more enjoyable for our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have to state the address? Okay, Jamie Boyle, Seashore Resort, 10 South Atlantic Avenue.
Just speak a little louder into the microphone, and just to remind everybody in the audience, just can't talk to each other either. You'll have your turn to speak.
Perfect. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here. Like my dad said, we are trying to be good neighbors to all of you. And, you know, if you could just give us the opportunity to get a little bit further into the summer to prove that to you, that would be very much appreciated. Obviously, we are family owned and operated. We have been since the 1960s. We've always tried to strive to be the perfect combination of relaxation and fun for locals and for tourists. And we love being a staple part of everyone's summer fun, and we have been for many, many years. So just to kind of explain how the Seashell operates, and obviously I know most of you understand this, but we are seasonal and we are only operational 6 months out of the year. Of those 6 months, we only offer live music during a few certain months. Our preseason music consists only of 9 individual nights. That's prior to 4th of July weekend, basically is what we would consider preseason. Our full season of outdoor live music is only 10 weeks out of the year. Last year, we did have music that ranged from acoustic artists all the way up to 4, 5, 6-piece bands. We did notice that there was an issue with the bigger bands, and since I will explain shortly what we've done to kind of overcome that. First, I want to start to just discuss the timeframes of music, how we were last year, and then move into where we are this year. So last year on nights, we basically decide on like what we call club nights and then non-club nights. So our non-club nights are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Previously, we would have live music outside on the beach until 1 a.m. On the opposite nights, Thursday and Saturday, which we would deem more of our club nights or our nighttime lively nights, we would have music until just before 2 a.m. Of those nights, Saturday nights were the nights that we had bigger bands. Over the past year, obviously, this has been an ongoing situation with the neighbors. And to kind of combat that, we've decided to make a lot of drastic changes for 2024. For right now, the easiest way to explain is we've mainly booked acoustic artists and duos and trios rather than larger bands. With the exception of a few 4 or 5-piece bands on holiday weekends, everything that you're going to see on Saturday nights are going to be no more than 2 to 3 people. We have completely eliminated DJs on Saturday nights outside as to reduce the music for our neighbors. This year, we are going to switch the music completely for those weekdays that I mentioned, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. We're now going to be ending music at 11 p.m., no longer at 1 a.m. This is basically 2 hours earlier than last year. And then with Thursdays and Saturdays, we're going to be ending music at, at 1 a.m., which is a full hour earlier than last year. This is a decision made on our end to be better neighbors. This is not a decision imposed by council or by anyone else. This is a decision on our end. And we're hoping that this is something that can make everything move forward and become, a better situation for everyone. My dad did point out that we installed the in-house sound system and certain changes to the beach. We all have an app on our phones. So everything that is controlled by used to be controlled by the bands is now controlled by us. So when the bands show up, they plug in, the way that Mark has designed it is that when they initially plug in, they're at the absolute highest that they can be. There's no way for them to turn it up higher. The only control is on our end, and we can only turn it down lower. We can't even control it to go higher. It is literally set to an exact level where the decibels are perfect for what is required. In the installation of that sound system, actually in the past week, we've even changed it more. So there are 4 main speakers on the stage. There are speakers surrounding it as well. We just put a new installation in to be able to separate those 2 systems. So if we deem that the musician is too loud coming out of the 4 main speakers, we can actually shut off the surrounding speakers. And that can be at the discretion of us, controlled by our phone. The only people that have access to that is our management. We have 4 sound dampening panels on the backside of the stage. And those speakers that I just talked about that we can individually shut off, they're all directed to be pointing down to the sand to absorb the sound, and then also away from all of the main entrances or where the music was leaking before. So you're eliminating any speakers being pointed towards the north, the south, or the west. I know this was again briefly mentioned before, but just something to point out, it is, yes, aware we did receive complaints last year from people. Memorial Day weekend 2023, we received 6 complaints. Memorial Day weekend 2024, 0. Preseason 2023, we received 1 noise complaint. Preseason 2024, 0. So what this shows is that the steps that we've taken to mitigate this issue, they're working. What our neighbors, and you will come to realize this, we haven't entered the season yet. You guys haven't given us a chance to utilize this to its full capacity. This was all just installed. Our full season music schedule hasn't even started yet. We're still very, very preseason. So while, yes, there was an issue in the past, we don't foresee there being an issue in the future. And we are doing our absolute best. We want to be good neighbors. We want everyone to be happy. We want to coexist with everybody peacefully. But we, created this action plan, meeting with you guys in the fall and enacted it over the winter. And here we are now going into our season, ready to implement it and really fully see what kind of changes it has made. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to give some folks that haven't spoken yet a chance to speak before we hear anybody speak again on Zoom. Amanda Burden.
Hi, I just want to say that I really appreciate.
State your name and address for the record.
I'm so sorry. Amanda Burden, 218 Amber Street, Beach Haven. I just really appreciate what the owners of the Shell have said and done. I love the Shell. As they said, they've been in business for 60 years and this was a new problem and they didn't realize how bad it was. And once they did, it looks like they went to great efforts to make some changes. And I really think we need to give them a chance to see if this is gonna work as well as they say it's gonna work. And I think they've been good neighbors for 60 years. And I really appreciate that's who they want to be. So I really appreciate what they've said and done. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another one on Zoom.
Hi, my name is Joe Canteen from 19 Center Street. I just wanted to ask what's going on with the teen night situation in LBI 2024 summer.
ordinance. Right, and that's what we're looking for. I think they were all done in good faith. I think, love the business. Tom's a good guy. We're just looking for compliance with the ordinance. And the early returns weren't good. Right, so that's what we're just looking for. What happens if not, right? What happens if not? Because what we heard last year was that during the season, we can't make changes. Right? During the season, it's set in motion. We can't make changes. Money's been committed to bands, whatever it is, we can't make changes. Right? So now we're going to be back here again next year. Right? So our view was tonight was a night to discuss it and come up with a plan to drive compliance to the ordinance. And that's what you heard George say up front as a suggestion. But that's what we're trying to do because it was unbearable. We gave it a shot. Memorial Day wasn't better. It just wasn't. And we can have some people come back and talk to it, but it just wasn't.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else? I know our police chief wants to speak, but if there's anybody else that hasn't spoken yet, no.
Eileen Boker, 401 Center Street. And just a few things as I've been listening and I've been in other meetings when folks have come forward to express their concerns about the shell. And I think the Hughes family has put in a lot of changes and it looks like they're really working with the neighbors and the council to make all the corrections. It's a resort town. I hear music in our building from the yacht club. I hear it from the places along the bay that have music on, the bicycle that rides up and down the street. And it looks as if they are making changes in stopping it earlier and closing it down to work with everyone. So I would hope that the council is able to give them some time to really continue to work it through, work with the neighbors. And it's not just about immediately getting what folks want, but looking at the plan over the long run. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience before the chief speaks? Okay, chief.
Hello. All right. I took some notes trying to answer some of the questions and concerns people had. On Friday, my secretary's in the back. He did a search on Friday. And as of Friday, we did not have any noise complaints that were called into us for the Seashell. If for some reason we missed complaints in our search, if you want, please give him a call tomorrow and we'll figure out how we missed them. But I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that people had talked about. So on noise complaints, our problem with some of the noise complaints that we had in the beginning, and yes, we did have 44 noise complaints that they received warnings on. Those noise complaints, when we go to them, we were going to the Seashell. We were trying to figure out where the noise was coming from. We have to, according to the ordinance, we have to wheel off a certain distance and it has to be plainly audible. We have to be able to turn on our body cameras and document it because we have to come in front of the judge and, testify to what we heard. So if we can't testify to that and we can't show proof to it, it makes it look bad. It makes it look like we're harassing. So we try to have definitive proof. So that's why it took so long. At the neighborhood watch meetings, some of the residents from the condos came and explained more where the noise was actually happening because we weren't getting that information from dispatch. So once they explained where they were hearing the noise at, we figured out that the way the sand was set up, it was projecting the sound upwards, and we started issuing tickets. But that was towards the end of the summer, and I understand why people got frustrated with it. I have talked to Mr. Hughes a couple times this year already. He has checked with me a few times to see if we had any noise complaints, and I did tell him we did not. So if I'm wrong, I apologize to the people who complained. An idea that, I know in previous special conditions in the late 90s, the owner of the Seashell stated that Saturday afternoons from 3 to 7, they have outdoor entertainment, and 4 to 8 on Sundays, they have live outdoor entertainment. There would never be live entertainment in the outside bar in the evening. Obviously, that's changed, but this was in the late 90s. There was not outdoor entertainment in the evening, and that was from the owner of the Seashell during a public comment. So now there is. He did invest a lot of money into this from what he said. He has a plan. The thought on the plan is that if it doesn't work, we're going to be in the same place we were. Well, if we add a condition to his license that says something along the lines that if we receive a noise complaint and the police go to it and it's a bona fide noise complaint, we will issue a summons. And then immediately upon issuance of that summons, during nighttime hours, they would turn off their music for the remainder of the night. That would, if the music situation that they did fixes it, we'll never have to do that. But if it doesn't, we have the ability then to make them turn it off. That's something for you guys to discuss and think maybe it's an option. This would give the ability to quiet it down at least for that night. And then after a certain amount of noise ordinances, the council could call a special meeting and have them appear before you, and then you could sanction them with special conditions, which would be, maybe no outside music after 10 p.m. But I think, given what they've put into it, I would hope that we would give them a chance. And if you put stipulation in there like that, it would make it so that we would be able to at least turn it off if it is loud. Does anybody have any questions?
But would you mind clarifying what a bona fide complaint
So
would look like, sound like?
a bona fide complaint would be if somebody from Renaissance Condos called us and said, I'm at this condo number and it's loud. It's disturbing us. It's plainly audible. We will go to that residence and we will listen to it. We'll turn on our body cameras. We'll listen to it. And if it's plainly audible, which means that we can testify in court that you understand what the song is, you can hear, what the people are chanting, whatever it is, then we would go next door to the Seashell and write them a summons.
Could you turn off the music at that time?
If you put a special condition in there saying that we could, then we would have the ability to do it. As of right now, no, we can't. As of right now, we could go over, we could hear a noise complaint, we could write him a ticket, hand it to him, and he could keep playing for the rest of the night. When the next person calls, we can go and issue him another ticket, and we can keep doing that 7 times in one night. Not that it's ever happened, but if you put something like that in the special condition, then we could make them turn it off. It would be a special condition on our license. It would be a rule. And if they don't do it, it'd be a violation of their liquor license.
Is it true that they didn't get any violations during the season last year? They got them only on Labor Day?
I don't know what the dates of them are. It's possible, but I know it was sometime in August when the people from Renaissance Condos came into our neighborhood watch meeting. And that's when we figured out why we weren't, because we were here, we were responding ground level, and the sand dunes that are around his property were making it where you could barely hear it from the street. So if, I wish we would have been able to do something earlier. We just, we don't have the ability to go uninvited into somebody's home. So that's why we explained to them, invite us into your home or have us come to a certain location. It has to be 100 feet away from the property. And then that's where we'll document it. So.
I have a question as
Sure.
well. I think people have to understand, I guess, that they need to make the dispatcher know where they are, where they're calling from, and so that you can get there. One of the problems I see is we don't have our own dispatcher.
Yes.
Dispatcher is somebody far away.
It's in a different
They
town.
have to get back to you, and I know that doesn't always happen, which is frustrating.
What I would suggest is that the person that calls and makes a complaint says that they want an officer to come to their place of residence, wherever they're at, and have the officer meet them about a noise complaint. And then we'll show up there, knock on their door and talk to them. I know it's disturbing to be at somebody's house at, 1 o'clock in the morning, but this is the way we're going to have to take care of this problem if it continues.
Did you find that, some of People in the audience tonight have.
Does that other
suggested-
microphone work, Kitty?
Some of the people in the audience tonight have suggested that the staff at the Shell did not go into the parking lot, which is part of their which they're supposed to
Speak in
be-
the microphone.
They're supposed to be going into the parking lot and closing. I don't know why this is. And we're seeing and making sure that everyone's quiet as they're exiting the establishment. Have you
so
not seen that happening?
My
Are
officers
they-
deal with their security people out in the parking lots. They don't come out into the roadway generally because that's not their property, but yeah, they have 3 parking lots on the, on the west, north and south side of their buildings, and there's always security out there. There's always security either, helping people who are, trying to find a way home or, dealing with people that they've kicked out or just walking through the parking lot to make sure nobody's vandalizing anything. I mean, there's always security there. I don't know if they're necessarily doing all the time what they're supposed to be doing, but they are there.
Is it a big problem when they let out, or is it?
It's a big problem at every bar when they let out. You're coming out of a bar
It's not
where they're playing music and, they're coming out and walking down the street, still talking at the volume that they were talking at next to a speaker. So it's a problem at every establishment.
Yeah.
I think that's gotten a bit better. It used to be much worse, I think. But, personally, I wanted to just say all music has to go indoors at the curfew time, at the time, 10 o'clock on the weeknights and 11 on the week. That I feel very, it just is very annoying because I hear it too. And I've had people call me as way to the north of me about the music. And then they call me at night. Basically, I don't want to hurt a business. And what I think might be the best solution is that we put a condition on the liquor license, as you're saying, that if the music doesn't get turned, if there's a legitimate complaint after curfew time, the music gets turned off.
I would say, and it could be reworded, however, but I would say immediately upon the issuance of a summons for a bona fide noise complaint during nighttime hours as defined in ordinance 134, the PD will ensure that outdoor entertainment ceases for the remainder of the evening. I mean, maybe there might have to be reworded a little bit, but
It needs to be strong enough that there's just no outdoor music. If they get a complaint after, say, 11 o'clock,
yeah, but you're still giving them a chance.
you're giving them a chance. to
If it
keep
does work
under
and they don't have
control.
complaints, then
Right, but I
That's
mean,
up
if
to you.
it goes night after night after night.
if we
then
issue
I think
multiple,
you do have to say
this is-
no outside music.
this
after
is with any liquor establishment, if they have multiple violations of their license, you can call them back in for a special hearing in front of the council and make changes to their license right then. And that would be the time to then decide that no outdoor music, but that's up to
I
you.
mean, I think something like that. I mean, of course, we'd have to put that condition on the liquor license today. But if we did have the ability, if this continues, I mean, I don't want to hurt anybody's business. I don't think anybody does. But it isn't, sleep deprivation is one of the worst things that can happen to people. It's really bad for your health. It causes heart attacks, it causes stroke, and it really is annoying. So, I mean, there's a lot going on around town. I mean, some people rent there, and we're just now charging people to rent. And they have renters that don't come back because of the noise in that neighborhood. I know, but I wouldn't want to hurt the business. I think it's a great establishment. I know they're trying hard to mitigate this problem, but we won't know until we see how it works. I did hear music Saturday of Memorial Day weekend in my bedroom.
All right, like I said, if somebody did make a complaint to the police department, please call us tomorrow and we'll look it up and find out why we were not able to find it in our search, because I don't want to give out false information if, that's the case, but.
I'd like to know how everyone else on council feels about this, at least a little bit. And I personally, I hear what everyone's saying and I sympathize with everyone, both sides, but I don't personally think it's fair to impose these conditions tonight until the Hugheses have a chance to think about it and at least wait a month before we adopt something like that, or vote on something like that. That's just my opinion. But I hear how everyone feels. But I'd like to hear from the rest of council.
I have a
after
question.
what the chief
Wait a second, wait a
said.
second.
I have a question. I don't know, Mr. Padula or the chief. There's a state noise ordinance, correct?
Yes.
Would
and-
that supersede the borough?
No, you've adopted both of them. Actually,
So-
you have a noise ordinance, and then there's, as an alternate means of enforcement, you have the state DEP ordinances in your code. Additionally, what the chief was alluding to is you, as the governing body, also have authority to enforce liquor laws and regulate your licensed establishments. You're not limited to going to Superior Court. So you can issue charges here, for example, for conducting the business in such a manner as to become a nuisance. For example, I'm just reading from the regulations: quality of life, noise, litter, urination, etc. And the ABC code provides for suspensions for that. For first offense, it's 10-day suspension, 20, 30 days for subsequent offenses. So you have the authority to have those proceedings here. And the standard of proof there, unlike municipal court, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, here it's just a preponderance of the evidence. So you do have a little bit more flexibility in terms of enforcement.
Okay, my question is, the Hughes has indicated that they have the ability to control the decibel level. So if we can have that to whatever the legal limit is. Now, I know one lady mentioned the singing, and I don't know what you do about that, but I don't know if you have the ability to tone it down. I would like to give them the opportunity to do that.
Well, I sort of came in on the tail end of this. A lot of this was going on last year with the complaints and everything else. And
Speak in the microphone.
I kind of like the idea that the chief has, where is if there is a bona fide complaint, they could come in and just shut them down. And if this keeps happening, then they come in front of us again and we'll deal with it then. I mean, I understand that they spent a lot of money on what they're doing right now. And there is a problem. They're trying to rectify it. If they can't, then we're gonna have to do something about it. That's all there is to it.
Jamie?
So I really think we need to be equal on this, especially with outdoor music. On the other special conditions for Bird and Betty's, they're not allowed to have music past 10 on weekdays and 11 on the weekends. On Tucker's, they're not allowed to have music on their rooftop deck or in their, where they have their new outdoor dining. And that was because of specific complaints from the public. So I think we really need to meet in the middle here. And I think that the chief's recommendation is the right thing to do, whereas we're not eliminating outdoor music at the Shell, but we are putting some type of condition in place because of the overwhelming 44 complaints is a lot of complaints. And although the solution, it's still early and we really haven't had a full feel of if the solution is actually going to work, I think we still need to have something in place so we don't have as many complaints as we did last summer. So I think the chief's resolution is really meeting everyone in the middle, in where if a complaint is called in and the police do come and they do, according to 134-2B with the 100 feet and the recording, and they do give a summons, then the music has to be turned off for the remaining of the evening. I think that's meeting in the middle.
I agree. Anybody else, anybody other comments on council? Okay, so, yeah, you want to come forward and speak?
For duplicates?
You'll be next.
This will take 10 seconds.
Keep talking.
So I just want to speak on the complaints. So everyone keeps using this number.
State your name and address
Sorry.
for the recording.
Jamie, I apologize. Jamie Boyle, 10 South Atlantic Avenue. So everyone keeps addressing this 44 complaints. According to the notes provided to me by Chief, it was 42, which is okay. It's only 2 difference. However, what I want to point out is of those 42, only 38 of them were at nighttime. And of those 38, 24 were unique complaints. The rest were repeat complaints. So I took the sheet provided by the town, which is all public knowledge, On 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different occasions, complaints were made multiple times within sometimes 10 minutes of each other. So I know that number keeps getting tossed around and makes it sound like a lot, makes it sound really bad, but it's really not. When you're looking at it, it's actually 24 complaints.
Well, I mean.
I'm just saying this.
Thank
You can't call repeatedly.
Please address the council.
No back, no talking.
But when someone calls and then they call again 10 minutes later and then they call again 7 minutes later, I feel like that shouldn't necessarily count towards this number to make us look worse than what it is. That's it. Thank you.
Well, hopefully with this new system, it won't happen.
I hope so too.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm opening the floor. I mean, the floor is open, so yes, come forward. I'm sorry, you're next.
George Dugan, 101 Ingleside. Just 3 points I want to get back to. The 100-foot rule, I'm within the 100 feet. I'm directly across the street from the seashell. So I don't know how you can stand in my place and clearly hear the music, and I'm within the 100 feet. I have an app that says from the band shell to my front window is 375 feet. It's more than a football field. And I can clearly hear the music at night in my place. That's 1. 2, yes, it sounds like this gentleman spent a lot of money to improve this, but I spent a lot of money too to buy here. Okay, and so did a lot of other people behind me. Okay, and 3, you know, I don't know what else to tell you, but you know, I really would like to have the music stop at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. It's just too much. And also, we do have a business. People in our building do rent during the summer, and I'm there all summer long. I take care of the building. And when I talk to the people that are renting, they've also said to me, it's pretty loud. And finally, I invite you all to come to my house on 4th of July because it's going to be a perfect storm. It's Thunder Thursday, it's 4th of July, and everybody that's in town is going to be rolling over to the seashell. And it's going to be crazy. And I think you should all come over and see what goes on at night. You know, there's people that say, well, I'm calling from such and such. You know what? You don't live there. You don't live through this. I'm sure he's trying to do his best, but it's just not good enough at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Deborah Greenwald, 1 Center Street. I personally went over there on Memorial Day weekend and had an altercation. The reason why it stopped, I know that you noticed that it stopped, was because I got in his face and I said, turn it down, because I'd had enough. We have spent 2 years asking them to turn it down. Every time we're working on it, we're working on it. Whatever he put in place isn't working because that weekend it was out of control. So I think the proof is in the pudding, and now we need consequences. We need compliance and consequences, and that's what we're asking for, real compliance and real consequences, and zero tolerability for it. We live in a zero tolerance neighborhood. That's what the signs say. Everybody has to follow the laws. And I think that in order to ensure that they are following the laws, we are asking for the music to go inside at 10 o'clock on the weekdays and 11 o'clock, not 11 o'clock and then 1 o'clock. That's very nice that they're doing that, but that's outside of the regulations. So you can see, even that is proof that it's give it an inch and take a mile. And honestly, it's really unbearable. So, you know, because we spent the past 2 years complaining, 28 complaints is a lot of complaints. It's a lot. And if we call back, it's because multiple people are still not able to sleep. So we're continuously calling because nothing is happening. And that's the issue. If nothing happens, we're going to keep calling and complaining that it's still loud and we still can't sleep. That's why there are multiple complaints. We want to assure that this will stop now. We need something in place so that it stops now, not a month from now, not a week from now, today. We need assurance. And I don't understand why other businesses like Bird and Betty and the other ones have been able to put this ordinance into place as a stipulation for their liquor license This, look at, we came out in force here. We came out in force on a Monday. We took off from work to be here because this is important for us. This is affecting our lives, and talk is cheap, and we've been hearing talk for 2 years. So the credibility and the promises, I'm sorry, but based on a couple of weeks ago when I had to march over there, you know, that is proof that it's not true. This isn't Wildwood. This isn't Seaside Heights. This is what it's turning into. And we don't want that. That's not why we're here. And I don't think we're asking him to not have music, move it inside. The business was thriving before. There's no reason why the business can't thrive by moving the music inside. 10 o'clock on the weekends, 11 o'clock on the week, 10 o'clock on the weekdays, 11 o'clock on the weekends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak?
Diane Zillier, 1 Center Street. This comment about there were no calls, okay? I'll tell you, as Deborah was over there, I had no idea, but my finger was dialing the police, okay? And then the music stopped. Here again, the burden keeps being put on us. Okay, we have, and why should we be always responsible to call? That's what I don't understand. I don't understand why the burden is on us to have some kind of reasonable hours, and we don't have them. So had Deborah not gone over there and had the altercation, you would have had a complaint from me. And that was the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend. The following Saturday was the Saturday where the music started out kind of soft. But when those hundreds of people start singing, how is he going to control the decibels of the people's mouth? I want to know. Could you answer that? How are you?
You have to address the council. You have to address the council.
Okay. Well, I would like to know how that's going to be controlled, because when they all start singing, it's bad. And if you don't believe me, I'm inviting you to our condo in the middle of the night, okay? We'll be in our pajamas, all right? But I've learned to put on my robe and get ready for sit outside and wait for the police. And then I apologize because we are taking them away from way more important things. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Okay. Bill?
Yeah, hi, Mayor. I'm Bill Hudson, 23 West Washington Avenue, Beach Haven Inlet. As we all know, we're constantly in here about noise at the businesses. We have to find a way. This is a tourist island. We have to find a way for everybody to work together. We have to give them the chance. They've spent a lot of money. We have to give them some chance to work with it, and then we can do something if we need to. Now, this is the first time I'm hearing about the singing. It may be the first time this audience is bringing up the singing. Maybe there's something we can do about the singing, which seems to be a major complaint more than the music. So we have to do something. We can't just keep working on our businesses. It's just very short season, and it's a tourist island. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Tom? Okay.
Tom Hughes, 420 Fifth Street. I just want to clear up a couple of things. The young lady that came up and said that she had an altercation with us, and then the music was turned off. I never turned any music off. That was just the level that it was playing at. As far as the weekend after Memorial Day, we didn't have anything going up there that night. And not once have I ever heard hundreds of people singing. It'd be pretty cool if they did. I wouldn't want to disturb our neighbors, but that just doesn't happen. Other people that have gotten up that say nothing has changed are not giving us a chance. We've only been open a few nights. Everything has changed. That system is set up so out in the street, 100 feet away from the seashell, it will not exceed 65 decibels, which is normal conversation. So I get what everybody's saying. I hear it. We're working hard to do it. If we're not able to be successful doing this, then do what you have to do. Give me a chance. Thank you.
Tom, you did not have entertainment this Saturday after Memorial Day?
We, you know what, did we? Oh,
We had a.
I'm sorry.
An acoustic duo. We did not have a live band.
Yeah, we had a wedding going on that night. So if we had a duo,
Oh, you had a wedding, so that doesn't,
We had a
okay.
wedding going on inside. Very low key.
but not a band, two guys playing guitars.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
but again, I hear everybody. Just give us a chance.
If the singing were involved, wouldn't the decibel level be a combination of the band and the singing?
Yeah, it would be, but I honestly, Kitty, I'm there every single night. I've never heard hundreds of people singing. I mean, maybe somebody's up there dancing to the band. Maybe they are singing if they're having a good time, but I've never experienced that, honestly.
I'm assuming it would all be part of the noise, but all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
David Greenwald, 1 Center Street. I seem to remember that last year, the Shell also said that they were going to be making these kinds of alterations. I think that we have copies of papers where they've said this. I've worked as a sound person in the motion picture industry for many years, and I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to do what they say they're doing. The big problem is the bass and the drums, and they're very hard to control and have a band still sound good. So all we're asking is that there's compliance like with the law and that they obey the law. I think, just to keep giving chances then for us to be here next year and the following year, I don't think that's really fair to us. We want to be good neighbors to them and we want them to be good neighbors to us. So I think we should all just follow the law, just like when I leave and drive home, I'll, drive the speed limit. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, we got to wrap it up. Can't let
Well,
multiple.
We've had these discussions. Sherry, we've done this before. I'd like to wrap it up too, but go ahead.
Don Morrissey, 1 Center Street. I guess from my perspective, let's just keep it simple as possible, right? We have ordinances on the books. We would like those ordinances to be complied with. I'm heartened by the efforts that the owner is trying to take. I think that's good news. At the end of the day, he needs to comply. I think the approach that the police chief, there was some innovative ideas that he suggested in terms of giving him the ability to shut down. My concern with that, however, is that this issue has always been about enforcement, and they have not been it has not effectively been enforced. So by going to that method, you're putting the pressure on the chief. So again, I would like to go back to what a couple of folks said, what George has said, what Deborah has said. The easiest and most effective way to do this is to revert back to the approach that was taken in the past. Move the music inside. In that way, we know that has been an effective way to institute and comply with the law. So again, I think there is an approach. I think there's an approach that is relatively straightforward. And I'm all for a very successful seashell. Believe me, I've spent a lot of nights and evenings there. I want it to succeed, but we also need to be mindful of the neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you. We do need to wrap it up, but if anybody, this is it. Okay.
I've got one on Zoom then.
Brian Boker, 401 Center Street. Just listening to this for the last couple of weeks, it sounds like Tom has scientifically tried to address the decibels and the noise. But what I want to talk about is, no matter what, I've raised my kids on Dock Road, And we've discussed the things that we've dealt with living in Beach Haven as far as people in the backyard, people urinating. It's going to happen. We are in the middle of a resort town and in the middle of three of the most popular bars on the island. They have no control at 2:30 in the morning when 300, 400, 500 people let out of a building. I mean, they can't be responsible for those noise levels and people urinating in the street. They're personal decisions made by adults that they have no control over. I just want to point that out because a lot of the complaints are about urinating and noise in the parking lot and people singing. They have no control over that. None of the bars do actually, but thank you.
Thank you. My feeling on this, and I, we're in the process of renewing these liquor licenses. I really feel, I like the chief's compromise. And I think, I personally, yes, I would like all the music to move inside. And you can make it as loud as you want. But if Mr. Hughes and his family thinks that they can keep the music down to a level that isn't going to be distressing to everybody, I think we should give them a chance. I mean, and we can put in a special condition. If you're still getting noise complaints by the end of, or the middle of July, then we will meet together and talk. We can talk about restricting or putting into the conditions that music goes inside. If they can keep it down and they don't get complaints, and it's up to the citizens around there to call the police, explain where they live and that they can hear the noise, and it's up to the police to get there and do this. And basically, if the noise isn't, if there is a complaint, a legitimate complaint, you turn it off. But you can have the music outside. But if it's continual, basically, then we decide whether or not we're going to establish a rule that everybody has to move their music inside at the curfew time. I think that's fair. I believe in giving people chances, and to me that would be a fair compromise. I don't.
Nancy, we still have one more person on Zoom, and then
We
if you
do?
want to close the floor and then
Yes.
talk to council.
Right.
Amanda Burden.
Hi, Amanda Burden, 218 Amber Street. I just want to echo what a couple people have said about our businesses really need our help. They have such a short season. We really have to support them. This is a resort town. The Shell really is an iconic business, and it sounds like they've really invested money and time and effort in trying to really do what they can. But it's a resort town. We have to give them a chance. I really like what people have said about really trying to give them a chance. And I really appreciate what Dave said about wanting to be good neighbors and wanting to make this work. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right,
Close the
so,
floor.
so I'm just throwing that out as a condition to the liquor license that, if there are legitimate noise complaints after the curfew hour, that the music will be turned off. What's the curfew hour? The curfew hour is 10 o'clock on weeknights and 11 o'clock on Friday and Saturday night. Now, really, even during they're not supposed to have real loud music, but at that time, at the curfew time, you shouldn't be able to hear the music at all.
No, can we
We're not-
stop
that we're-
going back
no.
and forth? The floor is closed.
Well, that's true. We're not supposed to be doing that, but, no, my suggestion is, which I think, the chief mentioned, that, if somebody complained at, say, 11:30, and the police went down there and they could hear the music, it was above the 60 decibels or whatever it's supposed to be, then they would go to the Shell and say, turn the music off. There's no music. That's it. And basically, if this becomes every night that they have to do it, then we could hold a special meeting. And then at that time, we could say all the music has to be turned off or go inside after the curfew hours. But give them at least an opportunity to see if this will work for them. And I mean, they just got this sound thing. And basically, maybe it'll work and maybe they just need to monkey around with it and figure out how to keep the decibels down. But I think we need the ability to stop it if they can. That's my feeling.
Well, I don't know why we're the only ones talking tonight, so it's kind of important, but I think that, I wasn't at the meeting, but we met with the Hugheses this past year, about the complaints from last summer.
Right.
And not that we entered into an agreement, but we talked and kind of agreed and decided that we would give them a chance to mitigate the problems. And I know, believe me, I don't want to live where you live. I live a few blocks away and I don't hear it. So it doesn't, out of sight, out of mind. It's not really how it is for me, but I know it seems that way. Because I do think that we told them that they should come up with a plan. We didn't say to them, next summer, you're done, you're inside all the time or at 10 o'clock. So I think that it's only fair to give them a chance. But regarding Jamie's statement about Tucker's and Bird and Betty's, she's right. They do have different restrictions or, but those were a result of two land use board decisions because they both applied for extensions or, more room, more space, whatever. And it was a condition of their land use approval. That's why it's different than this situation. So I think that they deserve a chance to try. I mean, and I hear what the chief is saying. I don't disagree with him. I don't know that it's fair to spring that on them tonight, giving them maybe another meeting till the next meeting to decide on this liquor license. That's just how I feel.
Can we?
I don't know.
hold off on
That's
the
all. That's
approval
all.
of this liquor license for a week or two?
Well, by law, if you're going to propose a special condition, the licensee has to have notice of the special condition. So if you're going to propose a special condition tonight, the Hughes could walk out with a copy of what you're proposing, and we will consider adoption of the liquor license at the next meeting, which would be the 27th.
That sounds fair.
I have another question. So if the complaints or if the complaint is bona fide or truly legitimate based upon the decibel level acceptable decibel level, would we be giving them a warning or a straight turn
Say
it
that
off?
one more time.
Would we be issuing a warning first or a straight turn it off?
I think like,
I thought if
turn it off.
if they received the summons, an actual summons, chief.
Yeah, let's have.
Well, that's what I mean by the
It's not like
complaint,
a
because
complaint,
it
it
would
has
have to be the officer determining that it's a true.
I would suggest a summons. A summons be issued if it's a legitimate complaint. If they receive a noise complaint, they get a ticket. And once, they get a few, I don't know how you guys want to handle that, but once they get a certain amount of tickets, then they have to come back before you. But if there's no tickets issued, then we're just giving
Stop
warnings.
yelling from the audience, please.
Then we're just giving warnings, for offenses. And I think that's kind of what the complaint is.
You would need a summons to back up your shutting them down.
I would.
Stop talking or you will be removed.
So you would have to issue a summons to actually shut them down. So
I
you
would-
have.
That's the way, yes, that's the way it's written, yes. I would say issuing a summons would be the best course of action.
Thank you.
No, we haven't closed the floor, but
Yeah, we
no.
have.
Yeah, we have.
We have.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Sorry. So does that work with council if we
No, I
say
just,
we're gonna do this and we talk about it?
yeah,
and
I
We
think,
look at this on the 20-something or not?
yeah, that sounds reasonable
Does
to
that
me.
sound fair?
Once we get the wording of it and everything
Yeah.
else, then we'll sit down and talk.
Okay.
And I want to make it clear that if there are violations repeated violations where the music is turned off, it is more formal than just calling them in for a meeting. They will be charged by you as an ABC board. They will receive a charge citing a statute that they would come and have a public hearing to speak to the charge. You could propose consequences, suspensions, fines, anything like-
Conditions at that point as
Yes,
well.
it's not just sit down a meeting and let's rediscuss. We will issue charges. That hasn't been done since I've been here, but you have that ability. You are the liquor board here.
So, yeah, you have to have some, if this comes about, hopefully. we'll
Tom, could you
mitigate the
come?
whole thing,
Can you take this for
but,
me?
You have to have some faith in us and in the police force in town. But it's up to you as residents.
This is the
to make
existing,
sure that you,
and
when-
then this
when
is the
you're annoyed by
proposed.
this and you can hear it, that you do make a complaint. I hate calling.
Yeah.
complaints myself.
Those are for you to keep, okay?
Report back.
Thank you.
So we're leaving it at that. Everybody's okay with that? Okay. Okay, so we can move on to the next liquor license.
Yes.
It is, the,
143, yeah, 143, granting a liquor license to Tucker's Restaurant, Inc. with special conditions. Teen night has been struck from this license as well.
So would anybody like to speak to the Tucker's liquor license? Nope. Anybody on Zoom? No. All right. So is there a motion to approve Tucker's liquor license?
Motion to approve.
Second. Did you want to move forward, Jamie?
Oh, there's in the, I'm sorry, I was still thinking about the previous one. In the liquor license, there's no mention of the resolution from last year regarding outdoor music. In the,
Tucker's?
right.
I thought they weren't allowed to have outdoor music.
Well, then we have to
after
clear it
the-
up before we vote. on
Right,
it.
it's not cleared up.
It's not in the actual.
It's not.
All right,
It
then we'll-
discusses the deck, but not their
Well, then I think we
expansion.
should hold
Right.
it and then-
Yeah, then we have
Yeah.
to add that.
I think we should take a closer look at it and make
Yeah.
sure that it's what you want to say before
Thank
we.
you.
It has
I
to be
apologize
clear.
for that.
Sorry.
No, that was good.
Thank you.
All right, so we're on to the Marlin.
Yeah, 144, granting a liquor license to the Marlin Restaurant and Bar, Inc. with special conditions.
Okay, anybody in the audience or on Zoom that would like to speak to this liquor license?
And the teen night has been struck from this
Yeah.
one as well.
Come forward.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Batista, 1014 West Avenue. Question first. I heard that this meeting was scheduled to renew the liquor licenses last week, and I called on Friday to get a copy of the resolution 144. Has there been any change since that?
Just the striking of the teen night language. has been-
No change.
No change.
So the draft that I have is the resolution that's being adopted today.
Correct.
Okay, for the record, I object to the changes striking the language for teen night. It's been interesting to listen to the previous application about the aggravating factors that are leading to adopting new restrictions or removing restrictions. Teen night, it's interesting that you're basing you're striking teen night down out of a liquor license when there's been no discussion about problems in the licensed establishment that have been caused by teen night. What I've heard about teen night is just that you don't like teen night and you want to get rid of teen night. So correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have any complaints. There are no formal complaints against the Marlin for activity at teen night from the police department. Not a single, not one. So I object, I object to the striking of that language out of the license. And the discussion about what we can do to resolve issues, to me, is the path that we should be taking. I have sat down with you, Colleen, and you, Mike, to put forward suggestions that could help solve a lot of the problems with teenagers in town. Some of them have nothing to do with what we're doing. And I think we can solve all these problems. I really do. And so, like, you're giving other establishments a chance to show council that we can do that. I am 100% confident that what I've heard about the problems of teen night from this council, we can absolutely solve. So I object to striking teen night from the Marlin liquor license. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak
Objection.
on the Marlins? Anybody on Zoom? All right, do I have a motion to approve the liquor license?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
What?
I'll make the motion to
Okay,
approve.
thank you. Seconds or second?
I have a can I ask Bruce a question? So, I mean, we all know how I voted last time, so if I am not sure about this, what's your advice in terms of the teen night? I want him to get a liquor license, of course, that's why I'm asking.
Well, the
So-
language is redundant and unnecessary because teen night effective June 19th
That's what I
is prohibited in the borough. So,
Yeah.
so you don't need the restrictions in the license or the regulation of it in the license.
Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, thank you.
I need a second on the motion.
Second.
Mrs. Baumeller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
I have a bill list this evening in the amount of $1,002,020.43.
So motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Baumeller?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
That's all we have for tonight.
All right, so now I'm opening the floor and the Zoom to public comment. At this point in time, you can talk about anything, anything that you want to say, but please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And you have to state your name and address. Okay, John?
John Halpern, 319 Fairview Avenue, Beach Haven. This is going to give me an opportunity to make a public service announcement regarding Neighborhood Watch, because we just heard about the issues from one neighborhood and the issues happening with the seashell. So effective June 18th, there will be regularly scheduled Neighborhood Watch meetings in Borough Hall. That's basically chaired by the chief. So at that time, any party can come forward with complaints. And I would also encourage, if the complaints are against a business, there's nothing that would preclude the businesses from attending these meetings to hear what the community is saying. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, John.
thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, nobody on Zoom. Anybody else in the audience? Yes.
Very quick. Steve Pacheco, 1 Center Street. Just summarize where the council landed on the Shell special guidance or the special part of it. We just didn't understand where you landed, what that stipulation was going to be.
We provided the license holder with the existing resolution and the proposed special condition to review. And we will review and it will be presented for adoption June 27th, right? Is that?
Could you just summarize that? What?
The condition is that if there is a bona fide complaint, which results in the police issuing a summons, the police would have the authority at that time to close the music down for the evening.
if it's during that nighttime hour
Yes.
definition.
Yeah,
So
but
it's
at the
after
custom.
10, after 11.
We have to get this written up and, I mean, it needs careful, writing up and that sort of thing. So, but that'll come forward July 27th.
June.
I mean. All right, anybody else? Anybody? Okay, so I'm closing the floor to public comment.
Before you go to final remarks, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that this is a municipal election year. And we will have 3 seats vacant on December 31st. So I do have petitions available in my office for anyone that would like to pick one up, that would consider trying to join the team. Those are due back in my office by August 22nd to get your name on the ballot for council. Just wanted to make that announcement real quick.
Sign up. Okay, so final remarks by council. Do you want to start, Colleen?
Well, I think pretty much everyone said, thank you all for coming out. It was quite an interesting evening. Appreciate all your input. And that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody coming out and I understand what your problems are. There's nothing worse than getting woken up in the middle of the night. Hopefully they can rectify this problem. If not, then we're going to have to do it.
Thank you. Kitty?
I completely agree with Mike and I, parrot what he just said. Thank you all for coming and see you next time.
Okay.
I'm not first this time. I'll echo what everyone else has said. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We listen to you every meeting and take what you say and consider it in everything that we do. Time's up.
Time's up.
It's this job is very difficult. I think the most difficult part is the balance that we have in this really small and very successful resort community. And we have the year-round people that live here raising families. We have people that come in the summertime, and then we have our businesses, which are really the heart of our town. So to maintain this delicate balance is very difficult. And we try wholeheartedly to make a compromise to make this work and to make this town as successful as we all want it to be. So we'll keep the conversations open and we'll move forward with a very successful summer. And not everyone is going to be happy with the solution, but it is going to be a solution that we are going to all keep talking about and moving forward with.
Thank you. I would like to reiterate a lot of what Jamie said, but all of us here love Beach Haven. This is a special place and we want it to be as good as it can be. And the good thing is that we don't all have the same opinions, but we seem to get along pretty well. And that's really important. And I think we need to keep nurturing that and work towards the best community we can have. The businesses here are very important. It makes Beach Haven special. We can walk to establishments. So if we drink a little too much, we don't have to worry about driving. We have a grocery store, we have a pharmacy, we have a bagel shop. We've got all kinds of great stuff in this town. And we all just want to make it. Yeah, what did I
Candy
miss?
store?
Yeah. So we're so lucky. And so we just need to try to work together and be sensitive to everybody's feelings and problems. And thank you all for coming. I want to say, Colleen gave a great talk. We lost our wonderful librarian. And they had a service for her yesterday. Some of you might have been there. If you've been to the library, you would have known Eileen. She was there for 30, 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah, and they named the children's room after her in the library. I used to go there when I was a little girl before I could really read and look at Babar books. But anyway, it was a very nice service, and Colleen said some great words. So
Thank
I
you.
hope some of you were there to hear that.
I just want to add that I think we all forgot to just mention Art Walk. It was a great success. I hope that you all walked downtown. It's such a great day. And I always think if anyone wants to plan a wedding, they should plan it on that day because they always have great weather. It's always a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day. And Lindsay Ryan and the Beach Haven Chamber did a great job. So I applaud them
And we had the
thank
film
them.
festival this week.
Oh, yeah, the film
And
festival.
which Beach Haven participates in as well. So
I know it's jinx. I
exciting.
jinxed
There's a
them.
lot of exciting stuff happening. All right, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. To adjourn.
Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Okay, thank you.